Hello, everybody. Your friendly neighborhood food tour guide, Michael Lin, back here with another episode on something really fun and exciting and interesting today. We are going to talk about egg tarts. In Mandarin Chinese, we call them daan ta. But of course, we know several different types, several variations of daan ta. And I wanted to share with you guys how daan ta came to Taiwan. And of course, not everybody knows this, but daan ta or egg tarts started as a cream tart or cream pastry in Portugal. So today we're gonna do kind of like an evolution of the egg tart. And we're just gonna start with this one right here. This is the Portuguese cream tart or custard tart called a pastéis de nata. Okay, a pastéis is a pastry or tart. De nata, nata is a word for custard or sort of cream custard, but this started way back. And we're talking like 1800s in an area or a city called Belèm, which is just outside of Lisbon. And I got a chance to visit this place several years ago, so I got really lucky to see where this actually originated. And there's a couple of theories behind it, but the undisputed part is that it started with monks in a monastery. All right, so the Portuguese monks in a monastery created these. Whether some people say it was for survival. I've also heard the story of how they were washing their clothes and somehow they used the egg whites but had lots of egg yolks left over, so they didn't know what to do with them, and they ended up making custard tarts. There's several variations, but the part that is fact is that this existed several hundred years ago in Portugal in a monastery by monks in Belèm outside of Lisbon. So this is it right here. This is the pastéis de Belèm or pastéis de nata, and you'll see that it's a flaky oh gosh, what do we call this? Flaky, not puff pastry, kind of like a puff pastry on the outside. So many layers. Wow, flaky falling crust in the layers here. And the Portuguese have several ways of eating it. They can eat it warm or cold, and they also can eat it plain, or they also might add, it's already on here, but a little bit of powdered sugar and cinnamon. So I actually had the bakery already add a little bit of cinnamon and powdered sugar on there for me. And this is from a place called Natas Pastries in Sherman Oaks, and I got there earlier today. Let's see how this is. Okay. I would say the first scent is cinnamon. We got that. And it's sweet. Like, this is not the egg tart that I'm normally accustomed to, Hong Kong style. But this is definitely sweet, especially with the added powdered sugar on top. And then you see the filling in the middle is very soft and very custard or cream like. I would say it's more like a cream. The shell is very flaky. Very flaky. Like it's falling all over the place. And there's such a loud crunch when you bite into it. Like, you hear that? I mean, we don't do any editing with sound effects and anything like that, but I mean, I can hear it in my head. So That was the first origination, the origin of the pastéis de Belèm or pastéis de nata. Later on, somebody in Macau traveled to Portugal and attempted to recreate the recipe for this. I'm not sure if this person succeeded in getting the exact perfect recipe, but this person ended up creating something very, very similar. So this is the Macau Portuguese style egg tart, okay? And this, I would say, because Macau used to be a colony of Portugal, there's definitely a connection there. We're also, as Macau is part of China, there's a lot of Chinese people, a lot of Portuguese kind of mixed history, culinarily, culturally as well. So this is from Kee Wah or Kee Wah Bakery in San Gabriel Valley, and they make a Portuguese style egg tart, which is the Macau egg tart. And so it's, oh, well, I ate it. But you'll see that it's pretty similar, right? They both got the brulee top, right? Torched on the top. And I would say this one's got a lot more like flaky layers, the original, than the Macau version. And of course, the Portuguese version has the cinnamon and the powdered sugar on top, but the Macau one doesn't. So let's see what. Or, oh, this is also creamy, but I wouldn't call it a cream in the middle. It's definitely more custardy. And not as sweet, but maybe a little bit more buttery. Let's say, okay. So this is the Portuguese one. This is the Macau Portuguese one, but made by Chinese people. And then there's the Hong Kong one. I think this is what most people think of when it comes to egg tarts or daan tart, right? So you can find it in bakeries all over the place. You can find it in dim sum. I mean, I would say that one of the most famous ones is Golden Gate in San Francisco. But I still got mine at Kee Wah Bakery. Kee Wah is also from Hong Kong. And also, two different things. A lot of people think that because Hong Kong and Macau are geographically right next to each other, it makes total sense that this went from Portugal to Macau, the colony of Portugal in China, next door to Hong Kong, and this would be like a variation of this. However, there's another theory that the egg tart or the custard tart Hong Kong style actually was a descendant of British pastry because Hong Kong was a British colony, right? So there could have been a little connection here, or they just could have been like descended from like two different roots, I guess you could say. But this is the Hong Kong daan tart. So we went from a pastéis de nata to a 葡式蛋挞 to a 港式蛋挞, or a Hong Kong style egg tart. And then, when you bite into this one, this tastes like egg. This is an egg tart. This is a cream tart, maybe a custard tart, and this is an egg tart. And we've got it's flaky too. It's flaky. I don't know if this is a puff pastry. I don't think this is a puff pastry, but look at that. Man, this is good. Definitely not as sweet. More eggy. But at Kee Wah, they also have the non-crispy tart shell version of their egg tart. So they actually have 3 different egg tarts there. This one, I would say, is more like a what do we call this in the culinary world? We call this a short crust. Is this a short crust pastry? Almost a pie crust? Is that the same? Somebody tell me, please. Drop a little comment below, please. But this is the other daan taat that we know of. Oh, wow. Definitely eggy, custardy, pie tart shell, more like a pie tart shell. Oh, that's good. Wow. Now, I'm from Portugal to Macau to Hong Kong, still in Hong Kong, and then here's the connection to Taiwan. So Hong Kong and Taiwan, what is it, an hour and a half by plane, but millions of people travel this route all the time, especially using Hong Kong back in the day as a connection to China, right? So this is pre like 2008. So during that journey between Hong Kong and Taiwan, they used a lot of different, shared a lot of different culinary aspects, right? And this is when like dim sum went from Hong Kong to Taiwan. This is when certain vocabulary, like calling your 先生 or 太太, your husband or wife, 老公 or 老婆, that's like Cantonese that merged into Taiwanese everyday life. Or when you ask for the check, 买单, it's from Hong Kong as well. But of course, the egg tart moved over to Taiwan too. And this is the Taiwanese version of the egg tart. Look how thick this is. This is like the Taiwanese egg tart, or 台式蛋挞. This is like the deep dish pizza of the egg tart world. But look at how like, oh, this thickness versus this thickness, right? Like total deep dish right here. So this one is from JJ Bakery, and I would say the Taiwanese egg tart, it's a little bit sturdier on the outside, but once you break it, it's like game over. It's like total game over. The middle is super soft. It went from like cream to custard to eggy, and now it's just like creamy yet not creamy at all. Oh, this is good too. Oh my gosh. So I would say this is definitely more like pastry. Would I say this is like a pie shell? Maybe not so much. I think this is one of those things that you just have to try several times to get to know. Lovely. I should have had some tea. Okay. So it doesn't just stop there, because the evolution of the egg tart continues. Oh, I should have been doing this. There we go. Ooh. In Taiwan, a former colony of Japan, also have a common connection too, where a lot of different histories and language and culinary culture transfer between the two countries. And so what's really, really in right now is Japanese cheese tarts, right? And I'm almost certain, this is unconfirmed, and we'll just say allegedly for now, until we get a confirmation. I would say that there was some inspiration from the egg tart to making a Japanese cheese tart. So this is something you can get at Bake. I actually got this at Sunmerry, because Sunmerry is a Taiwanese bakery that started in Japan. So this is like kind of like that perfect example of that fusion, hybrid, translatable culinary culture that goes between those two places. Yeah, right? So another bite. Oh, okay. This is a lot of daan taat, guys. This is like, I would say, mini cheesecake. This is definitely cream cheese in the middle, and sort of pie crust. Not quite graham cracker cheesecake pie crust, but still. That's going on the outside. But I wanted to show you guys, because every time we talk about daan taat or egg tarts, everyone's got a different image of what their daan taat or ideal daan taat looks like. And so this is why, because there's so many, right? Portuguese, Macau style, Hong Kong styles, Taiwan styles, and then Japanese cheese tart. And it doesn't stop there, right? Because we also know we have custard pie at places like Marie Callender's. There's other variations of that too. But, tell me which one you guys like. My favorite, I think, is still Hong Kong dim sum daan taat, because that's what I grew up knowing. Even the Taiwanese egg tart is relatively new to me. I mean, this is something I think that it came later on in the 2000s. But this, I mean, 1800s, like 1980s. This is for sure like 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, and then like definitely 2010s. But this is just like hundreds of years of egg yolky, egg white tart, puff pastry, short crust pastry history right here. It's a lot of egg tarts, and I'm gonna finish this, but I'm gonna do it off camera because as you see, I make a giant mess and nobody needs to see this. So that's it for now. I'm gonna continue eating, but comment, subscribe, comment, comment, subscribe, and follow below. Let me know what your favorite one is. Which ones have you tried? Which ones have you not tried? Have you been to Belèm in Portugal, or Macau, or Hong Kong, or Taiwan? Yes, let me know. All right. Ciao, everyone. Have a great, wonderful rest of your day and start to your week, and I will see you guys next week for another episode. What to eat? This one.